Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're on Season 19, Killer Pairs, where we're going to cover people who work together to murder. It could be family members, people involved in relationships, or just a couple of friends out doing some murdering. If you're entertained by these videos, hit like, subscribe, or leave me a comment. You can also check out my other channel, Somewhere Sinister, that's a little more history related. There's links in the description. On September 22, 2006, 16-year-old Cassie Jo Stoddart was house-sitting at her aunt and uncle's residence in the Whispering Cliffs development in Pocatello, Idaho. She and her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, arrived at the house around 5:30 p.m. Shortly after, Torey Adamcik and Brian Draper arrived and the group watched Kill Bill Volume 2 in the living room. Brian quietly unlocked the basement door before he and Torey left 2 hours later, which set their evil plan in motion. A seemingly normal evening with friends concealed something sinister. Torey and Brian had dark plans. The duo had become obsessed with murder, and they decided that Cassie would be their first victim. This is Monsters. Torey Adamcik was born on June 14, 1990 and grew up in Pocatello. Brian Lee Draper was born on March 21, 1990 in Sandy, Utah, and his family moved to the Idaho town in 2002 where he became friends with Torey. The two teens quickly bonded over their love of horror movies and their fascination with murder. They began dressing in dark clothing in an effort to emulate the Columbine shooters, going as far as praising their actions on the social media site MySpace. It wasn't long before their admiration for killers became a desire to become killers themselves. They had gotten into filmmaking and started carrying camcorders wherever they went. They would record themselves talking about committing murder and working out their plans.
Because let's put it this way. Parents, along with their parents, and so on, taught them about God, Jesus, the whole bullshit line. I'm sure you guys believe in God as well. I realized when I was in 7th grade, you don't believe in Santa Claus or vampires or werewolves. They're used to metaphor, not to let... They teach their kids back in the 1800s, I learned this in English class, about telling their kids that you can't go outside or a vampire will get you, just to make their kids stay and do what they want to do. God is basically the same way.
Yep.
Trying to get people to do good, or else, so-called, you go to hell.
And we're obviously going to hell if it's real, but you know what, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and why would you say
it's real? It's
right?
not real, because it's so blatantly obvious it's not real, but...
People believe it because their parents teach them, and so it's so hard for them to let go of it because they've been taught their whole life.
Yeah, I know.
But fucking what the point I'm making is, we are also taught that things like killing people and other thing is wrong. The only thing that it's wrong about is because it's breaking the law, and the law is only wrong. The law
natural selection, dude.
Because
natural selection. That's all I gotta say.
There should be no law against killing people. I know it's a wrong thing, but hell, you restrict somebody from it, they're gonna want it more.
Exactly. Goodbye, camera.
Torey and Brian seemed to think they had some philosophical understanding of the world and religion. They seemed to think they were smarter than other people and that they should kill due to being on a higher plane of thinking. Obviously, they weren't. They were just a couple of dumb kids, and the video shows their absolute lack of understanding of the world. At one point, Torey tries to explain why killing shouldn't be wrong, saying it's only wrong because it's breaking the law, and it's only a law because, well, he can't really explain that. He just says killing shouldn't be illegal. Then he immediately says he knows killing is, quote, a wrong thing. These two kids have absolutely no idea what they're talking about and somehow got it into their heads that they need to kill and convince themselves that it wasn't a bad thing. There isn't a lot of information available about their families or their upbringing, so it's hard to say what happened to cause them to become ruthless killers. One of their biggest influences was the movie Scream. They wanted to copy the movie and start killing people who were actually their friends at the time.
We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart and her friends.
God, turn your brights off, asshole.
Well, we'll find out if she has friends over. She's going to be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get? I mean, like, holy shit, dude.
I'm horny just thinking about it.
Hell yeah. So we're gonna fucking kill her and her friends, and we're gonna keep moving on. I heard some news about Kirsten. She's gonna be home alone from 6 to 7. So we might kill her, then drive over to Cassie's thing, and scare the shit out of them, then kill them one by fucking one. Hell yeah.
Why 1 by 1? Why can't it be a
2 by
slaughterhouse?
2 and 3 by 3? Because we gotta keep it classy. So yeah,
Classy.
it's gonna be extra fun.
You're evil.
Yes, I am. So are you.
No,
We're
evil
both
is an expression of God. That was another test you failed.
Evil is not an expression of God.
Yes, it is.
It's bullshit. You know it.
Evil, the origin, is a follower of fucking Satan.
There is no
Satan
Satan.
real? Then shut up.
Then how are we supposed to express ourselves?
Good and bad.
We're bad.
We're bad.
That sounds so shitty.
We're evil. That sounds even shittier.
We're not, okay? Then we're sick psychopaths that get pleasure of killing other people.
That sounds good, baby.
We're gonna go down in
That sounds
history.
good.
We're gonna be just like Scream, except real life terms.
That
We're gonna
sounds
be murderers.
good, baby.
Like, let's see, Ted Bundy, like the Hillside Strangler,
No.
the Zodiac Killer.
Those people are more amateurs compared to what we're gonna be. We're gonna be more of higher sources of
Gene.
Gene.
Well, except we're not with that sick and that twisted.
Oh, do you know what Gene's words were?
What?
Saw a girl walking down the street, right?
Yeah.
2 questions came to his head. I could take her out, have a nice time with her,
The killer.
and show her a
Get
good
her
time,
alive?
charm the pants off her, or I wonder what her head would look like on a stick.
Holy shit.
That's creepy,
Yes.
huh?
Holy shit. Murder is power. Murder is freedom. Goodbye.
I don't know.
These misguided teens believed that they were going to be better than other famous killers. They had a selfish need to gain fame at the expense of other people's lives. And worse, people that believed they were their friends. Those videos were taken on September 21st. Torey and Brian went out with the intention of starting their killing spree, but weren't able to make it happen. Cassie Jo Stoddart was born on December 21st, 1989 in Pocatello. She was a model student who stood out among her peers. She managed to keep straight A's and earned recognition for her responsible nature. The local sheriff spoke highly of her dedication to education and friendships. Her aunt and uncle, Allison and Frank Contreras, were going to be away for the weekend and she was going to house sit for them, taking care of their pets. September 22nd was a Friday, and after school, Cassie and her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, hung out for a few hours before being dropped off at the Contreras house by her mother, Anna. Torey and Brian arrived and the group watched a movie. Brian managed to sneak into the basement and unlock a door before they left the house. After they left, they drove around recording themselves talking about their plan to go back and commit murder. It seemed that they were planning to kill both Cassie and Matt.
We're here in his car. The time is 9:50. September 22nd, 2006. Unfortunately, we have the grueling task of killing our two friends. And they are right in that house just down the street.
We just talked to them. We were there for an hour. But
We checked out the whole house. We know there's lots of doors. There's lots of places to hide. I locked the back doors, so it's all locked. Now we just gotta wait. And yeah, we're really nervous right now, but we're ready.
we're listening to the greatest rock band
We've
ever,
waited for this for a long time.
Pink Floyd, before we commit the ultimate crime of murder.
We waited for this for a long time.
A long time.
We'll stay tuned.
When they arrived back at the house, they parked their car down the street, changed into dark clothing and gloves, donned white painted masks, and armed themselves with knives. They snuck in through the basement door, and their plan was to try and get Cassie and Matt into the basement by making loud noises. When that didn't work, they cut the power to the house through the electrical panel. One of the family dogs sensed danger and kept staring and growling at the basement stairs. The young couple were scared at first, but after a few minutes the power came back on, so they shrugged it off as an electrical issue. At 10:30 p.m., Matt's mother called and told him she was going to pick him up. He asked if he could stay since there had been some power outages, but his mother said no. He asked if Cassie could come with him, but Cassie turned down the offer. She felt uneasy, but stayed committed to her house-sitting duties. After their attempts to manipulate Cassie failed to bring her downstairs, Brian and Torey ambushed Cassie as she was resting on the couch. Their assault turned extremely violent and relentless. The victim suffered approximately 30 stab wounds, and 12 of them proved potentially fatal. Investigators discovered clear evidence that Cassie had fought fiercely to defend herself, and the crime scene revealed signs of an intense struggle. A family member made the tragic discovery on December 24, 2006, after returning to the residence. A 13-year-old cousin found Cassie's lifeless body in the living room. She called 911 and told the operator, quote, "There's a girl dead on my floor."
Emergency 911?
Somebody looks dead on my floor. I need an ambulance out of my house. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is a transfer from the county.
Go ahead. There's a girl dead on my floor.
Okay, what happened?
I don't know. She's on my floor bleeding, not moving.
Okay, I need you to get down and tell me if she's breathing.
No, she isn't. She's cold.
She's cold as tired?
She's cold.
Idaho State Police Lieutenant Robert Rausch arrived and began the investigation into what was clearly a homicide. Investigators uncovered several significant elements right away. There were no signs of forced entry anywhere in the home. They did not find the murder weapon at the location, and there was no clear motive for the crime. Investigators interviewed Matt since he was the last person to see Cassie. He explained that the power had gone off and back on, so the breaker panel was dusted for prints. Police found fingerprints on the panel, and they matched Cassie's mother's boyfriend, Victor. When detectives questioned him, Victor said that he had done some construction work at the Contreras house and that he used the breaker then. He also provided an alibi for the night of the 22nd, which was confirmed by the people who were with him. Investigators went back to Matt as a suspect because he seemed a bit unemotional when he found out that Cassie had been murdered. They asked him to take a polygraph test, which he did, and it didn't indicate any deception. Then the investigators turned their attention to the other two people that had been at the Contreras house that evening, Torey and Brian. When they were questioned, they confirmed that they had gone to hang out with Cassie and Matt on the evening of the 22nd. They told authorities that they had left the house and went to see the movie Pulse, but when they were asked what the movie was about, neither of them could answer. Of course, that piqued the curiosity of investigators, so they went to the movie theater and talked to some employees. One of those employees was a classmate of Torey and Brian's and said that they had definitely not been to the movie theater that night. With their alibi confirmed to be a lie, the detectives tried to interview the teens again. When they called to try and get Torey to come back in for another interview, he and his parents weren't interested. Brian, on the other hand, agreed, and when he was told that the detectives knew that his alibi was a lie, he broke down and confessed. But not to murder. He made one last attempt to save himself and told the investigators that he and Torey had actually been out breaking into cars. Since he had already lied once, Brian was scheduled for a polygraph. But before that happened, he met with the detectives and told them that Torey had killed Cassie. He laid out a story about how he and Torey were planning to sneak back into the house and just scare Cassie. But when they did, Torey just started stabbing her. According to Brian, he was completely surprised and was yelling, quote, "What are you doing?" Of course, we know that's not true, but soon the investigators would also know. After that, authorities were able to get Torey to come in for another interview and told him that they knew the truth, but the teen asked for a lawyer and did not make a confession. By then, detectives knew that Brian was the weak link between the two. He ended up leading police to Black Rock Canyon, where both teens tried to destroy vital evidence. After the murder, Torey and Brian drove out to the canyon, dug a hole, and buried the evidence. In that hole, investigators found multiple knives, including the murder weapon, black boots and rubber gloves, fingerless workout gloves, a melted brown hydrogen peroxide bottle, a clown-style mask, a partially burned book, and the video camera with the cassette tape still in it. The problem was that they had burned the video camera before burying it, so investigators weren't sure they'd be able to see what was on the tape. Fortunately, the tape was repaired, and when authorities watched it, they saw a recording of both boys planning to murder their friend, writing a death list in the school library, documentation of their first attempt to commit murder, and then their approach to the Contreras house on the 22nd. Then they saw this.
Just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a fucking joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. Oh, fuck. That felt like it wasn't real. I mean, it went by so fast.
Shut the fuck up. We gotta get our act straight.
It's okay. Okay, let's buy movie tickets now.
Okay.
Come on.
No.
Goodbye.
Brian's claim that he was not involved in the murder of Cassie was clearly a lie. It's his voice on the recording claiming to have stabbed her in the throat. It would later be identified that Torey was the more dominant person between the two, but they had both actively participated in the murder. Forensic analysis showed Cassie's DNA on one knife, one shirt, and one glove that Brian had worn. The investigators also found male DNA evidence under Cassie's fingernails, which turned out to be Brian's. It was another blow to Brian's story that he wasn't involved in the murder. With that information revealed, Brian changed his story and admitted that they had returned to the house that night fully intending to kill. Both Torey Adamcik and Brian Draper were tried as adults. In court, the prosecutor presented evidence that the boys were inspired by the Columbine High School shooting. Brian had written about Columbine, and part of it read, quote, "I am becoming more and more obsessed with Columbine. It seems now that that's all I think about. I would give anything to go back in time and be part of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold's lives. They are my heroes. I will follow in their footsteps and maybe I'll even meet them." The jury swiftly reached their verdicts. Brian Draper received his first-degree murder conviction on April 17, 2007, and Torey Adamcik faced the same verdict almost 2 months later on June 8th. Prosecutors built their case around the premeditated nature of the crime and the video evidence that showed their detailed planning and later attempts to destroy evidence. They were both sentenced to mandatory life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, with an additional 30 years to life for conspiracy to commit murder on August 21, 2007. During the sentencing, the judge stated his belief that Torey and Brian would have continued their killing spree if authorities had not caught them. Brian has shown remorse for his actions. He spoke from the Idaho State Correctional Institution 15 years after the crime and admitted he carries regret every day for taking Cassie's life, and he seems genuine. Torey, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be taking responsibility. He continually claims that Brian committed the murder, and his mother has even written and published a book that attempts to make her son seem like less of a horrible monster. His attempts to overturn his conviction reached federal courts. A U.S. magistrate judge reviewed his case and turned down his request to vacate the first-degree murder conviction. She supported Idaho Supreme Court's 2017 decision about his life sentence and confirmed that evidence backed the original conviction. Torey lost another appeal at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in March of 2022 after filing in February. Both Torey and Brian are serving their life sentences without parole at the Idaho State Correctional Institution. The recorded conversations revealed these teenagers' obsession with notorious killers. They wanted to become infamous like Ted Bundy or the Zodiac Killer, yet they believed their actions would be better, referring to those killers as amateurs. They spoke directly to future serial killers and FBI agents in their videotaped preparations because they wanted to be famous. That's why, as I tell their story, I want to make sure the most important part, after the memory of Cassie Jo Stoddart, is that they failed their mission and were caught within days. They wanted to be famous, so we should make sure they're famous for what they actually are. Monsters who were never as smart as they thought they were. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave us a comment. You can check out our other show, Somewhere Sinister, on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.